Time for a change. Welcome to the depths. Welcome to Reading from the Depths. My name is Lecton. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I've only been on BookTube for about 2.5 months, but it is already time for a change. Let me tell you what precipitated this thought for me. I recorded my wrap up for my August, and that was almost an hour long, and it was exhausting. It was exhausting to record it. It was exhausting to edit it, and I'm sure it was exhausting to watch it. I watch all of my YouTube videos at 2x speed, and I don't want to watch a wrap up video that's an hour long. Who wants to do that? So I knew I needed to change things up. So here is the plan I've kind of landed on, at least for the time being. When I started my channel, I started with the intention mostly to do reviews. I know that if you look at the universe of BookTube, channels that focus on reviews are not the most popular channels. And that's fine. I understand that. That's just the nature of the beast. Most channels that are really successful only do a few reviews, and those reviews are mixed in with more of the parasocial and commentary and ranking and other kind of offerings, But for me, the real reason I was motivated to start this channel is not just because I'd been lurking on BookTube for a couple of years, but because I received so many advanced reader copies. Over the past 2.5 years or so, I've probably received about 200 free books in exchange for reviews. And I've always said that I was only going to review on Goodreads, so I never misrepresented myself, but I still feel bad, especially for books that I really like, that I want to be able to promote them more, and I want to feel like I've done my due service for these free books that I've been receiving. And so that was my motivation for finally jumping into the YouTube game. And so there is still going to be a heavy emphasis on reviews on my channel, even though I know that will make my channel not grow and not be super popular. But that is, right now at least, where my focus is going to be. Yet, I do enjoy doing the non-review content. I do enjoy, like I did last week, the 10 books that shaped me. I enjoy doing book tags. I enjoy having commentary. And I realize that because of who I am as a monk and because of my life story and all these other things, I have a different approach than other people. And so maybe I have something to share that can be of interest to people in the BookTube sphere, And so I don't want to stop doing those videos. So the plan is going to be my Monday videos are going to be non-review videos. And then I will do reviews probably twice a week on Thursdays and Saturdays, at least for right now. I have enough arcs that if I do twice a week, I'm still going to have books that are going to be published in October that I won't be able to do reviews until November for. So that's the plan right now. 1 video a week will be a non-review video, and 2 videos will be reviews. And then if my number of reader copies slows down, that might switch to only 1 review a week. And so of those non-review videos, every month I'll try to do a mid-month check-in like I'm doing now, and then an end of the month wrap-up. Then the other weeks, I'm going to be open to anything, whether it be commentary, whether it be a book tag, whether it be just my thoughts on some topic or the other. Because the truth is, when you do a wrap-up video, you can't really share a lot about any given book, right? Because you're going through them rapid fire. And any of the ideas or thoughts that came up for me that I want to talk about, especially things that came up that I don't get a chance to talk about in a review, I don't really have any other place to talk about them. So that's going to be my goal or my aim. Part of the difficulty is that I do my best to publish my reviews more or less around the time when the books are being published. So in order to get my October reviews out, I have to read them a month ahead of time. So by the time a review is published on my channel, I'm already reading something entirely new. That's not fresh for me. Because of that, my video publishing schedule is kind of tight. And so whenever something interesting comes up that I want to talk about, something topical, whether it be a commentary or a new book or just something going around, I don't really have the wiggle room to talk about that right now. So hopefully by making the space for 4 videos a month that are non-reviews, then I will create a little more space. So that way I don't feel quite as out of step with everything. Because right now I don't feel like I am like temporally aligned with my channel, because when I'm reading and reviewing, and then those reviews are going to be published in a month from now. I already have all of my reviews for September and most of my reviews for October recorded because I wanted to make sure they were done before those books are published. So that is my goal. I would love to know what kind of content you would like outside of reviews, because I know what I like giving and what I feel comfortable sharing, but I want to know what people are interested in hearing about. And so I want this to be a two-way street in that regard. So if there's any kind of content, whether it be a book tag or whether it be a topic you want me to discuss, or whether it be anything like that, I'd love to hear your input down in the comments. Since this video is going to be my mid-month wrap-up, or my mid-month check-in, I think, as I'm going to call it, then what I see these videos being is a chance to go over the books I have read in the first half of the month, as well as talk about what I'm reading right now and what is on my TBR for the rest of the month. And then I can also share what reviews are scheduled or planned to come out the rest of the month and so forth. So hopefully the goal is for my mid-month check-ins and my wrap-ups to have that structure, and then also to have enough free space that if I want to say more about a particular book, especially a book that I'm not reviewing, I have the space to do that. Or if there's a topic or an idea that comes up that I want to bring up and talk about, I have the space to do that. I don't feel like I'm constantly rushed and like I'm wasting your time, which is what it feels like otherwise when I do an hour-long video that's just running through titles and there's no substance to it. You know what I mean? So that's the goal. That's the plan. This is our mid-month checkup. I've kind of given my spiel, wasted a lot of your time already. So let's talk about what I read in the first half of September, what I'm reading now, and what I'm planning on reading for the rest of the month. As it so happens, I have finished 8 titles so far in September, and of those 8, 7 of them are arcs that I was given. So there'll be full reviews of those coming. Most of those reviews will be in October. So I'm not going to spend a long time on them here, but I will mention them. The first book I finished this month was Strange Beasts by Susan J. Norris, and this was a lot of fun, especially for those of you who are participating in Occult Detective October. I'd say keep your eyes out for this. It's being published in the middle of October, so you'd have to grab it right when it comes out. This is a story where it follows Samantha Harkers, who is the daughter of Jonathan Harkers, who killed Dracula, and she has to team up with Helena Moriarty, who is the daughter of James Moriarty, who killed Sherlock Holmes. And the two of them work for an agency that tracks supernatural threats and gets rid of them. It is like an odd couple fantasy story where the two of them team up because they are sent on a case in France of a mysterious beast that is killing a whole lot of aristocrats. So I thought it was really fun. It is a little bit cozy. It's really sweet, but it's a really fun world to play in. So I say look forward to that. A full review is coming out closer to the review date. The next title I finished is Memorials by Richard Chismar, and this is kind of Americana folk horror, and it follows a group of college students who are making a documentary about roadside memorials, and they stumble into some kind of occult activity, which ends up, biting them in the ass, as you can expect it to do. The next book I read is a reread of Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, and this is because his Southern Reach trilogy, which is Annihilation, Authority, and Acceptance, were all published in 2014, and I read them right around the date they were published. He's adding a 4th book to that trilogy, Absolution, and that comes out in October. I have an advanced reader copy, and I plan to read it. I wanted to reread the trilogy before I read the new book, and so I reread all 3 books in the trilogy this month, and I have a review of those 3 books that's going to come out later this week. But so that's Annihilation, and then Authority, and Acceptance. All 3 of those I finished this month. On top of that, I finished Run by Blake Crouch. Now, when I received this, I thought it was a new Blake Crouch novel, only to realize this is actually his first novel that he self-published in 2011, and now it's been picked up by his publisher to be republished, I think because he's become so much more popular. This is a lot of fun. It is a white-knuckle thriller that follows a family that's on the run, and basically everyone is out to get them, and there's nowhere safe for them to stay. And so they are trying to preserve their lives in, the middle of this madness, this chaos. So I enjoyed that quite a lot. Now, the next book I read is the only one that I don't have a full review coming. This is another one of the Splatter Western series that I've been reading that are published by Dead Sky Publishing. And this was released in August. It's a full novel. Most of the Splatter Westerns are novellas. There are only a few novels, but this one is a novel, a short novel. It's called Hell's Cargo by Michelle Garza and Melissa Lesson. And I was really looking forward to this one. I thought the storyline sounded really exciting. It has to do with a priest in training and a nun in training, and there is some demon possession, and they have to travel across the country trying to exorcise this demon. I love occult horror. I like religious horror. I thought it would be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I did not love this so much, so I won't be doing a review on it. I think the story was very interesting. I think they had a lot of good ideas. I think the writing kind of let them down, especially the dialogue, and it was very dialogue heavy in this story. There was a lot of dialogue, and none of it felt convincing. It didn't feel convincing as if it were modern dialogue. It didn't feel convincing for 19th century Old West dialogue. It felt quite jilted, and it didn't really lead me deeper into the story or into the characters. So unfortunately, this was a miss for me. I liked the story. I thought the pacing was good. I just thought the writing didn't quite live up to the premise. And then the last title I finished so far is another splatter western, and this is called Mayhem Sam. And this one I actually received as an advanced reader copy, so there will be a review of it. And actually, that review is going to come out tomorrow, because tomorrow is the release date of this novel. And I received this novel last minute. I received it just last week. I didn't have it in my schedule, and so that's going to alter my schedule a little bit for this upcoming week. But this I thought was a lot of fun. It follows a young woman who is basically out for revenge, and she's escaping an abusive situation. And in her escape, she steals a whole lot of gold from her abusive husband. And she is, on one hand, trying to escape a difficult situation, but on the other hand, not afraid to enact kind of quite violent revenge on anyone that gets in her way or anyone that has harmed her in the past. So this was pretty typical fun for a splatter western. Those are the 8 titles I finished so far. Most of them were quite fun, especially the Southern Reach trilogy. I'm really glad that I reread them. They really are quite special, and so I'm excited to do a review on the trilogy, and it makes me even more excited to read the upcoming 4th entry, and we'll see how it goes. I have quite high expectations, having reread these, being reminded of how well Vandermeer changes his writing style across the 3 books to keep you engaged and to keep the same kind of sensibility and feeling, but find it expressed in different ways across the trilogy. And so each book in the trilogy feels like its own thing, you know? And so I'm excited to see where he goes with the 4th one. So what am I reading right now? There's another advanced reader copy. This is called The Bloodstained Doll by John Everson. And this is a homage to giallo movies. So far, this is good. It isn't great. We'll see. I'm only about halfway through. So depending on how many twists and turns there are and how many more red herrings we get, that'll kind of determine if it's good or not. I think that the plotting seems quite nice, and the amount of action and the amount of character discovery so far is enjoyable, but we'll see. It's going to kind of depend on how the actual mystery resolves and how many more people die before we get to the end. So we'll see. And then the other thing I'm reading right now is a collection of short stories. And, it's unusual for me to not have read more short stories, but this month I really wanted to get all 3 of the Southern Reach trilogy finished early in the month so I could make sure I had time to read the 4th one. So I have not been reading my normal amount of short stories, but I do have one collection going right now, and that is this. It is Revelations, Horror Writers for Climate Action, edited by Sean O'Connor. And so far I've only read a handful of stories from it, but it is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. This is also published by Dead Sky Publishing, and I believe a section of the profits are being given to a climate action group. Climate Outreach is the name of it. And most of these stories are not new to this anthology. They were published elsewhere. But the authors that are included in this are great. You have Clive Barker, Stephen King, Joe Hill, Tananarive Due, John Langan, Saren Langan, Josh Malerman, Adam Neville, Paul Tremblay. So a lot of big name authors contributed to this collection. And so far, I've only read a handful of the stories, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I'm looking forward to completing this. They're all horror stories that have some sort of relationship to the climate or the environment, or climate action in some way. That's what I'm reading right now. So what am I looking to read for the rest of the month? I don't have a heavy TBR for the rest of the month. I have 2 more advanced reader copies. One of those is Absolution. That's the 4th book in the Southern Reach series, I guess quadrilogy now. So that is the one I'm most excited to read. And that is going to be probably what I read next. I also have another advanced reader copy of a novella called Errant Roots by Sonora Taylor. And this is a horror novella that has to do with understanding your family history and something like some witchiness happening in a family history. I'm not quite sure, but I'm always down for a horror novella, especially one that is, examining family and, dark secrets. So that sounds fun. We'll see. And then after those 2, the only other book that I really want to read this month, and we'll see if that happens, is I want to read The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Now, Robin Hobb is a famous fantasy author, and she has a series called The Realm of the Elderlings, which is a 16-book series, but those 16 books are actually made up of 4 separate trilogies as well as 1 quadrilogy. So that is how the 16 books are split up. And you can read, they all go together, and some of them follow the same characters at different stages of their life. But you could read any given trilogy, and it's a complete story. So you don't have to read all 16. And I've kind of been missing some of these kind of tentpoles in fantasy literature that I want to read. The first trilogy is called the Farseer Trilogy, and the first book of the Farseer Trilogy is The Assassin's Apprentice. So I'm hoping to read that this month as well. And my goal is to read the whole Farseer Trilogy, at least 1 book a month over the next 3 months. And then we'll see if I continue with the rest of The Realm of the Elderlings or not. But I want to get more into some fantasy series that I've been neglecting. In general, I've noticed that when there are fantasy series that have already been published that have numerous entries, whether it's a trilogy or bigger than a trilogy, I have avoided it just because it feels like so much catch up. However, I hear so many good things about them that I do want to kind of participate with that literature and that art in some way. So I want to add it to my repertoire, if you will. So I'm going to start with this one and we'll see how it goes. And then if I have time, the only other book that is kind of on my agenda for the month, and I don't think I'm going to get to it, but I want to read Swan Song by Robert McCammon. And this is part of my ongoing project, my Novel Life project, which is to read a novel from a different author, starting from the year of your birth all the way up to present. So this would be my novel from 1987. So I've already read 3 books in this series, 84, 85, and 86. So this would be my novel from 1987. We'll see if I get there. This is a 1,000-page chunker, so I don't know if I'm going to have time to read it this month or not. So if I don't read it this month, hopefully I'll get to it next month. So those are the books I'm hoping to read in the next couple weeks. And lastly, I thought I would let you know what reviews I have coming up on the channel. So if you are interested in watching reviews, what you can look out for. So tomorrow, I have a review of Mayhem Sam by J.D. Graves. That's the splatter western that is actually being published tomorrow as well. And then I also will have later in the week a review of the Southern Reach trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer in preparation for Absolution. And there'll be no spoilers. The idea is to get people excited for Absolution, which is coming out next month. And then I also have a review of a short story collection called A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez. And this is the same author who wrote Our Share of Night, which was a very popular novel last year. And I liked that novel, but I thought it was too long. And so I was really looking forward to this collection of short stories, and I didn't disappoint. So there's a review for those coming up. Then there's a review for an Irish horror novel called Where I End by Sophie White. And this was actually published a few years ago in Ireland, but is just being published in the US in October. And this I enjoyed quite a lot. It was this atmospheric horror novel that was quite unsettling. I think it won a Shirley Jackson Award already. So that I loved quite a lot. And so the review for that is coming up. And then lastly, there'll be a review for the book Good Dogs by Brian Asman. And Brian Asman, you may know, has written quite a few novellas. I think most famously, Man F This House. And this is his first full-length novel. It is a werewolf story. And I enjoyed it. I like werewolf stories in general. And I think the idea of transformation and how you navigate that idea of transformation is always a fun one to play with, right? So that review is coming up at the end of the month. So those are the reviews you have to look forward to if you are interested in reviews throughout the rest of the month of September. Next Monday, I have another non-review. I think I am planning on doing the reader's profile book tag, so that will come out then. But as I mentioned before, I'm interested to know what kind of content you would like to see from me. So what would be both fulfilling for me to produce and think about, but also something that you would enjoy watching. And so I'm very much open to suggestions, and please leave all your ideas about that down in the comments. So I think that's going to be it for my first mid-month wrap-up. And this is going to be the schedule I try to keep for the time being, at least, with my Mondays being a non-review video, and then Thursdays and Saturdays being reviews. And then every once in a while, an extra review might sneak its way in, depending on how strong the deluge is of my advanced reader copies in that particular week. Anyone that has stuck with me throughout this video, I appreciate you. Thank you for spending some time with me. Please be kind to yourselves, take care of each other, and go slowly.